Hey golfers, in this next video I'll be showing you how to compress your iron shots. Keep watching. Hi, it's Troy from hittingitsolid.com here. Thanks for watching. How to compress your iron shots. That's what we all want to do in this video. I'm going to show you exactly how to do it, and by the end of it you're going to be able to get into that great Tour Pro position, getting your hands forward, getting that forward shaft lean, and really compressing that golf ball. But very quickly, if this is your first time here, make sure you like this video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Make sure you get access to my free 3 secret moves video, link in the description. So if you want to compress your iron shots, it's really important to understand how your setup and your impact position is, because they are completely different. And if you want to compress that golf ball, really get on top of it in this sort of position here, to hit the ball first and divot after, there's a big difference between setup and impact. So a setup position with an iron, I'll have that ball somewhere just forward of center, but impact, I'll be in this position here. I'll have more pressure into my lead side. I'll have my hands forward. I'll have plenty of forward shaft lean. I'll have my trail wrist bent back like this. I'll be de-lofting the iron. I've got an 8 iron here. It might have something like 38, 39 degrees normally, but at impact, that'll reduce by at least sort of 10 degrees or so, just depending on each golfer. So that's the position you need to get into, de-loft your irons and really compress them. The irons are designed to be hit in this position here. That's the way they're designed. If you sit an iron up on the ground, it naturally wants to have the handle lean forward. They're not designed with the handle to be level with the head. If you've had a look at yourself on video at impact and you see you're in this sort of position here, you're going to be continually scooping and lifting the ball up in the air with your irons all the time. So we need to get you to hit the irons the way they were designed, and that's very much in this position here. Super key to compressing your irons. Now this part is really important. Now this is absolutely crucial if you want to know how to compress your iron shots. So the role of this lead shoulder, this upper body in the downswing, is super key. So let's go to the top here. Pay attention to this lead shoulder. Most golfers in their downswing know how to get their hips over, but most golfers just move their hips and leave their upper body tilted back like this. What you need to do, and this is what all the great players do, as you get to the top, as your hips move to the target side, your upper body needs to move with it. Lead shoulder will move down and across. Your head will move as well, but it will recenter as the club gets down towards the ball. But you need to get that mass over that lead side, getting pressure into that lead side. That gets you more on top of the ball, or covering the ball, as you've probably heard before. Getting it across in a position where you can really get those hands forwards and really compress that golf shot. In its simplest term, if I'm set up to a ball like this, I draw a line down my lead shoulder and my left shoulder for a right-hander. What I'd like you to do is, at impact, return that lead shoulder to where it started or closer to the target. If you do that, you'll be a great chance of compressing the golf ball with your irons. If you don't, this is what most golfers do. They back that lead shoulder up, they lift it up very high early in the downswing, and you get into this position here, so you've got very little chance of compressing the golf ball. So really important, just remember, get that left or lead shoulder back to where it started or closer to the target. Over there. Now of course we need to rotate, and we need to be opening up those hips and those shoulders, and shallow out as well. And that'll get you into that great impact position. Here's another super key. Okay, to help you get that compression, here's a couple of extra keys that will really help you out. So I touched on this earlier. At setup, really important you don't get that ball position too far back in your stance, because I see a lot of golfers get it back here. I've got an 8 iron here, but anywhere with your sort of mid irons or lower irons. We want that ball position somewhere around the middle or just forward of center. But if you get it too far back, you'll have a tendency to lean back to try and lift the ball in the air, and that'll shift your low point where the club is hitting the ground back here somewhere. We want the low point up past the golf ball. So make sure, and by the same token, we don't want that ball position too far forward. That'll make it a lot more difficult to get that forward shaft lean. So ideally just forward of center for say your mid irons or even your shorter irons. Somewhere around just forward of center there will work really well and be able to get you into that nice position. Now the other thing is we need a decent amount of wrist hinge, because without the wrist hinge we can't get that forward shaft lean. We don't want to be going back too straight with our arms like this, and they'll come through very straight like this and you'll be in that sort of scooping position. We want to be able to get a little bit of hinge, not a lot of pressure on the club, just not a nice light grip pressure, but get enough hinge there so that when we come down, the goal is to get it somewhere near this trail thigh to get that club parallel to the ground. If you can get in that position there, somewhere approximately in that position, you're in great shape to get through to impact like this. If you're struggling to get into that position, best thing to do is exaggerate. I want you to feel like you're getting in somewhere like this. You won't, but the feeling should be is to get a little bit more wrist hinge as you come down on your downswing, and most likely you'll be closer to this, and then in a much better position to really compress that golf ball. Here's another key you need to do. If you've tried this before and it hasn't worked, there's a very good reason for that. If you've worked really hard on getting that nice shift, and no matter what you do, you find yourself, you're just chunking it. That is very, very normal. And the reason is you're very used to standing up taller or lifting that lead shoulder very quickly in the downswing up higher and lengthening those arms. But as soon as you change it to shifting that pressure down, that lead shoulder going down and forward, if any of your old habits come in and you lengthen those arms, you'll hit well behind the golf ball. So what you need to really feel and really practice doing is feel like those arms are more bent on the downswing. Because you're lower to the ground, have those arms a lot more bent and then rotate through. You can see that bend I've got in that trail arm, and you'll be in a much better position to strike the ball solid. So it is perfectly normal for that to happen. As soon as you lift that lead shoulder up high in that downswing, your arms need to lengthen to get to the ball to hit it solid. So we want that lead shoulder down and across, bent arms, rotating, and through there. Let's have a look from down this angle here. So we don't want that lead shoulder going up, then we have to lengthen arms. We want that lead shoulder going down and across with bent arms. We want to be shallowing the club and rotating through. And that's a great way how you can press those irons. Now here is a super way to practice this that you need to see. Here's a great way to practice this on how to compress your iron shot. So what I want you to do, you can practice this hitting small shots at a driving range. You can practice the feeling at home, probably just hitting plastic balls in your backyard, or if you've got a little net set up at home. What I want you to do is set up with the ball about 3 inches in front of your iron at setup. Now, the reason this is so effective is that it forces your brain to figure out what to do to hit the ball solid. So when you get that ball roughly about 3 inches in front of it, as you make your swing, if you fall back into any old habits and try and lift or scoop the ball, you're going to knife the ball or chunk it pretty much every time. But if you do the things that I've been through, as we move down and across, this forces you to really exaggerate, really get that body moving across and rotating, and really getting those hands exaggerated forward to make solid contact with the golf ball. Because if you don't, you'll find it extremely difficult to hit it solid. So here's an example of me hitting one close up, what it looks like at the driving range. And you'll see I've set up with a few inches behind the ball. As I come down, I hit the ball first, turf second. And this is what I want you to do with your irons. Really strive to hit ball first, turf second, and you'll compress those irons, get more distance and accuracy, regardless of whatever handicap you are on. So this is super key, and this is another key coming up. Watch this next video coming up. It talks about the importance of having that lead shoulder down and across at the start of the downswing, which we touched on during this video. So this one ties right in with this video and will really help you compress your iron shot. So make sure you watch it. It's coming up. Do you want to know how to make an even better golf swing? Click and watch the video on your screen now. It's going to go into more detail about how the left shoulder moves at the start of the downswing, which ties right in with this video to help you make a great golf swing. Do you want to know how to play even better golf? Consider subscribing to the channel. And remember, if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. I will get back to you. Thanks for watching. See you next time.